You know when wrestling is often at its best? When you think what's happening is real. Doesn't matter if you're being tricked or duped. The fact that someone has been smart enough to come up with a way to make this all seem legit is what you need to buy in with everything you've got. Your disbelief has been suspended and you're winning. And sure, when you get past that moment, you feel like a dork. How on earth did you get so invested when clearly it was nonsense? But everything is nonsense, which is why you should just enjoy it. I'm Simon from WhatCulture.com, and this is the 10 wrestling shoots that were total works. Number 10, TNA versus WWE. In 2015, the Evolve promotion began working with WWE. The two would trade talent between both companies to get the most out of their stars, and this gave Booker Gabe Sapolsky an idea. He was going to turn it into a storyline. So, when Johnny Gargano and Drew Galloway lost the Evolve Tag Team titles to Catchpoint at Evolve 59, Galloway turned on Gargano because he saw Gargano's WWE Law rings as getting in the way of his quest to save the independent scene. After that, TNA star EC3 turned up, leading to some very cutting promos aimed at the WWE machine. Though Evolve was never able to bill this feud as a WWE versus TNA war, it was clear that was the subtext. Fans wondered how it worked and if the WWE Evolve relationship would be jeopardized by Galloway and Carter's promos. Of course, Sapolsky wouldn't have done anything without WWE's okay, meaning all of this was just a compelling work. Number 9, Matt Hardy's revenge. One of WWE's most compelling stories of 2005 was, unfortunately, very much based in reality. Shortly after WrestleMania 21, it transpired that yes, Matt Hardy and girlfriend Lita had split up because she had been having an affair with Edge, who was a close friend of Matt's. Eep. Given the lay of the land, fans everywhere were clued in on what had happened, and WWE let the hatred of Edge add to his emergence as a top-level heel. As for Hardy, he was fired because the office thought that he had shared too much in public. This shocked everyone given that Matt was the victim here, so fans did what they always do. They started chanting for him at shows. This opened WWE's eyes, or at least they started to see they could make money off this, and Hardy was brought back to feud with Edge and Lita. It was obvious Hardy was still suffering because of this, and the promos cut here touched on some very real issues, but the fact both Edge and Hardy saw what this could mean for both of them meant they decided to play nice with each other. Still though, this is as real as it gets without being real. Number 8, Lance Storm versus William Regal. While mostly forgotten today, a Raw match between William Regal and Lance Storm drew a fair bit of controversy back in 2001. Happening on the 1st of October, Commissioner Regal booked Storm in a match against himself later in the show, and what followed was a relatively one-sided bout. Though Storm got some early offense in, Regal soon hit back, devastating Storm with some very fierce-looking blows. After only 1 minute and 37 seconds, the Brit locked in the Regal stretch and that forced Storm to submit. And then there was loads of fallout from it. On his website, Storm was inundated with questions from fans as to whether things had gone as planned, as they thought Regal had got legitimately angry after Storm had accidentally busted him open. Unfortunately, this was all hearsay and lies. The two just weren't given much time to begin with, and Regal is just very good at making his offense look real. As for his nose, Regal was suffering from sinus problems that made him bleed in many of his matches at this time. He went and got it fixed in 2002, and that's all there is to it. Number 7, the exploding ring. This seems silly now, but when the ring did explode in a Big Show vs Brock Lesnar match in 2003, some people actually thought this was legit, as opposed to a clearly gimmicked ring that broke just perfectly, which is what WWE wanted. Happening on the 12th of June SmackDown of that year, it did look awesome, and Taz actually yelling "holy shit" didn't hurt either. That's not something a commentator would just come out with, so maybe these two monsters had just broken the squared circle with their huge mass. Big Show would spend almost a decade telling people it was an accident, but that was stupid, given that it would appear constantly in games and be reused on TV too. Number 6, Lesnar beats the streak. Whoever beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania was always going to be greeted with a sense of disbelief, and that's what happened when Lesnar did the unthinkable at WrestleMania 30. There was a sense of confusion as Taker had been concussed during the bout, which meant the match lost its flow, but ultimately it was clear what had happened. Vince McMahon had simply booked the dead man to lose. Some fans, however, refused to accept this and thought that these injuries prevented him from kicking out, and none of this was meant to take place. If nothing else, look at Paul Heyman's reaction. That had to be real, because acting isn't a thing. There was no conspiracy theory here, however, no matter how surprising it was. The Phenom did business the right way, and he sent Brock off to the races. Number 5, The Miz insults Daniel Bryan. In many ways, this is the reason everybody was sad when Talking Smack was cancelled, because on the 23rd of August 2016 edition of that show, The Miz and Daniel Bryan went at it on the mic in a way we hadn't seen in years. Bryan said that The Miz wrestled like a coward, and The Miz retorted by going off at the GM of SmackDown and laying into him without a second's thought. He was so close to the bone and aggressive it took everyone off guard, which also apparently included Daniel, as he walked off the set. It caused fans everywhere to debate whether The Miz had got carried away and gone off on the man who loves the word yes, but it was all chatted out beforehand. The pair are friends and decided just to go at each other because they knew what would happen. And it did happen, so you can't fault their logic. Number 4, Shawn Michaels passes out on Raw. In 1995, WWE pulled off a tricky work shoot injury angle with Shawn Michaels based on his history with concussions. So, when Owen Hart kicked Michaels square in the head on an episode of Raw, HBK collapsed in the center of the ring. Vince McMahon and Jerry Lawler left the broadcast booth to check on him, and fans cried as Raw ended. Michaels was diagnosed as having post-concussion syndrome. Because the internet hadn't taken over yet, a lot of people didn't realize this was a work. Even some individuals in the company that hadn't been clued up worried this may have something to do with a real-life assault HBK had suffered in Syracuse a month earlier. Either way, Shawn returned a couple of months later to a hero's welcome, and to this day, some people still wonder whether or not he was actually hurt. He wasn't. Number 3, the Andy Kaufman-Jerry Lawler feud. Prior to a certain point, every wrestling storyline was believed to be real by the majority of fans because that was just the way of things. The Andy Kaufman-Jerry Lawler feud from early 1980s Memphis, however, stands out simply because so many people continued to believe it was real even after wrestling was exposed. Playing the role of a Hollywood elitist, Kaufman came to Memphis to feud with local hero Jerry the King Lawler. Of course, Kaufman was no match for Lawler physically, but he still found ways to get one over him and the fans hated him for it. The two infamously appeared on The Late Show with David Letterman, where Lawler smacked Kaufman and the comedian retaliated by throwing coffee at the King before letting loose on a profanity-streaked tirade. Of course, as revealed in 1999's Man on the Moon biopic, Kaufman and Lawler were friends who worked together in order to fool the world, and that included David Letterman. It was good though. It was real good. Number 2, CM Punk's pipe bomb promo. Perhaps the most well-remembered entry on this list came on the 27th of June 2011 when CM Punk dropped his infamous pipe bomb on Raw. That evening, John Cena was wrestling R-Truth in the main event, but Punk interfered to cost Cena the match, and he then sat on the stage and cut a promo that many consider to be one of the best in history. During it, Punk declared himself the best in the world, criticized WWE's business acumen and the decision to put The Rock in the WrestleMania main event, called Triple H a doofus and Stephanie McMahon idiotic, and promised to win the WWE title and take that to New Japan or Ring of Honor. Naturally, this was all part of the plan, but the legend that grew around it was that Punk took liberties and got carried away in the moment. But come on, you really think he's that stupid? WWE would have cut Punk's microphone at any time, and this was simply great writing with an even better delivery. Number 1, The Undertaker invades UFC. It wasn't surprising to see The Undertaker at UFC 121 because he loves that stuff. Look at those stupid gloves he wears. Makes no sense all things considered. None. After Brock Lesnar lost to that event to UFC heavyweight champ Cain Velasquez though, and past Taker, he muttered something at him to which the Phenom responded with, "You want to do it?" When pressed on this by MMA journalist Ariel Helwani, Undertaker simply said, "It's personal." Even the most jaded of wrestling fans were excited by this, and it blew up on YouTube instantly. A little later, however, details began to emerge. It was entirely a work, though one that barely anyone knew about ahead of time, and was designed to set up a match between the two for WrestleMania 27. UFC ended up stopping that, but it's alright, because we had WrestleMania 30 instead. Hello WhatCulture, my name is Simon Miller, and today I have an announcement so big, so huge, it's gonna shatter the very foundations of your life to the point you may need to phone up a friend and say, "I don't even know who I am anymore, I have just heard the news, have you heard the news?" They'll probably say, "No, I haven't heard the news," but you're already on the phone to them, you've already connected with them, so I would appreciate it if you either tell them the news or send them to this video. Thanks. So what is the news? Well, it's nice and simple. I've heard you out there, I've seen you've been commenting, I've read your tweets, and I can now officially let you know that if you do enjoy Raw ups and downs, if you do enjoy SmackDown ups and downs, that now you'll be able to set your watches to them, you'll be able to make notes in your calendars, because we're gonna have an official time for when they're gonna go live. I know, massive. So Ups and Downs for Raw will go live at 2 p.m. GMT, that's British time every Tuesday, and they will go live at 2 p.m. GMT every Wednesday for SmackDown. So you don't have to be aimlessly walking around anymore going, what do? I wanna know what got up and what got down and what Seth Rollins did or what AJ Styles is up to. Now you know, 2 p.m. GMT Tuesday, 2 p.m. GMT Wednesdays, Ups and Downs coming at you in the face. I realize what I just said, retract that, keep moving on, and I hope to see you there soon. And I hope that we build an audience so big that if I ever wanted to march an army anywhere in the world, I could, and we'd call it the Ups and Downs Army because they haven't come up with a better name. So yes, just to reiterate, Raw Ups and Downs 2 p.m. GMT Tuesday, SmackDown Ups and Downs 2 p.m. GMT Wednesday. I cannot wait to bring this brand new era in, and unlike other brand new eras, I've already let you know exactly what you can expect to see. Come on 2019, Kenny Omega, don't know where he's going, but you do know and you can always rely on ups and downs.